Hello boys and girls, today we're going to check out all the high gain modules from Synergy. That means the one from Engel and Dietzel and Bogner and Soldano and Friedman and FRIEDMAN. It's going to be a lot of fun because that's a lot of chuga today. In case you ever wanted to find out which one is the right module for you, this might become your ultimate video. Here we go. In this video, I'm going to reamp a song, a pair of rhythm guitars through all those different modules. The idea is I want to get a fat and tight and aggressive rhythm metal guitar tone. So we're talking about rather low-tuned rhythm guitars. That's what we're doing today. No lead guitars, no solos, no clean guitars, no standard tuning, nothing like that. I'm just trying to get a modern, fat, tight sounding guitar tone out of those modules so you can compare them. That's what we're doing. Nothing more, nothing less. One more important information, you can also download all the tracks, the single guitar tracks or the mixed guitar tracks, if you prefer to listen to those tracks at home, so you can switch between them and find out what you want. There's a link below. If you subscribe to my email list, you can download those files. Let's talk about the signal chain. I'm going from the Synergy preamp into my Brunetti Extra Lead power amp, which I really like. It's a 50 watt EL34 power amp that sounds great. The presence is pretty much cranked, not entirely cranked, but close to being cranked because I feel like most of the Synergy modules really like a push in the high end. From there we are going into a Mesa Boogie 4x12 rectifier cab, but we're not using vintage 30s. I thought I would use vintage 30s because everybody knows them, but then I added a few mics this morning and I preferred the DV77. I love the DV77. So we are listening to a very, very nice combination, an SM57 and a biodynamic M160 mixed together almost perfectly in phase. So that sounds really natural and gives a great representation of how those modules sound. By the way, if I might add that, I get so many emails about the EMINENCE DV77 speaker, that Slipknot Mick Thompson signature speaker. I can't sell you that speaker just because I did the IR pack with EMINENCE Digital. And I don't know when they will be able to produce it again. I will ask, hello Jim from EMINENCE. I will ask Jim next time I talk to him, but I don't know. But the good news is, of course, if you can't get that speaker, especially in Europe, just get my IR pack. It sounds fucking amazing. Get my IR pack. Next question is, how did I dial in those tones? So I just started with the first module and tried to dial in a tone that has enough gain, the right amount of gain, so there's enough saturation, but it's still tight. I tried to dial in a spectral balance, like between the frequencies, that will work in a dense metal mix. And then I tried to repeat that for all the other modules. That just means the settings will be very different. So sometimes I have the gain fully cranked, sometimes not, sometimes whatever. The highs might be cranked, sometimes not. But sometimes that wasn't possible, or I felt like if I boost the highs even more, it just sounds a little kaput, a little broken. It just sounds wrong. So I was trying to stay within the sweet spot of each module. One more thing that is important, a lot of those modules have different sound options. So this one has a graphic EQ and whatever, a bright switch and a lead shift switch. So each module is different. I was using all those tonal options to get closer to my sonic goal, to that rhythm guitar tone, So I'm using all those features whenever I felt they would help me to get closer to that. So for example, I'm using the mid cut on the famous mid cut on the Dietzel HERBERT module, and the only exception where I actually did two files, that was this Mark II C+ module where I have one version with and one without the graphic EQ, which drastically sounds different. All the other modules just have one tone. One more word about the modules. All of the Synergy modules have 2 channels, 2 switchable channels with different, gain knobs. So they are all actually 2-channel preamps. In this case, we are only using the high gain, the red channel on each preamp. But keep in mind, if you buy one of those modules, you are actually getting 2 channels. So there is a lot more than what I'm showing you here. But you can't do everything in one video. I hope this video will help you to decide which character you like. Because I can already tell you this stuff is very high quality and sounds great. Because we all know, if you work together with companies like BOGREN or Diesel or others, it's not gonna suck. All right, grab 1 or 2 beers, lean back, and dive into the land of distortion. Yeah, it's gonna be a trip through different types of distortion and different guitar tones. It's gonna be fun. Enjoy the GRINDSTEIN song. I see you on the other side. So that was interesting, wasn't it? Some of them were really close, others had a very distinct character. So let me try to sum it up just quickly. If you are looking for a, let's call it standard, modern, tight, aggressive tone that will sit right in any metal mix, like a very modern distortion, high gain yet controlled in a way, I think there are 3 preamps that stand out. First of all, the Engel Savage, an amp that I use a lot. Very aggressive, very tight, controlled, just what I described. Great amp. I think the most aggressive of the bunch. Then we have the Soldano, which also sounds great. By the way, it sounds much better than my Soldano SL060 amp here. Really nice preamp. You can also, if you push the mids, you can get it into a little more like honky-tonky land, you know, so it sounds a little more like a 5150. Very usable. And then we have my favorite of the bunch, and that is the BOGREN ÜBERSCHALL, because it just sounds just as aggressive and tight, but has a little more lower mids, so it sounds a little more vocal. And I really like that. And a lot of low end. So those are my recommendations for a modern tight metal sound. BOGREN ÜBERSCHALL, Engel Savage, and Soldano SLO. And now let's move on to the preamps that are voiced a little more traditionally, with a less tight distortion, with more low end going into the distortion, a little looser feel overall, but also maybe a little more musical, a little warmer, and a little fuller, and a little more vocal sounding. What comes to mind? We've got the ECSTASY from BOGREN going into that direction. We got the DELIVERANCE from FRIEDMAN going into that direction. Very nice preamp. Could have a little more gain, but very, very vocal and nice sounding. And we got the VH4 going into that direction. And then I think one preamp that stands out a little bit is the FRIEDMAN, because it's really not voiced for tight modern metal. I've played it in one of my videos. It has a great lower mids, a great voice, but it's more suited for whatever melodic work and solo work. So I didn't like that one very much here, but it's a high quality preamp. It just sounds a little too woody in this, in this song. And then we have a few preamps that really stand out because they're very different. One of them is the 2CP here, Synergy's take on the Mesa Boogie Mark II C+. You heard 2 versions, with the graphic EQ and without. And without the graphic EQ, you can see it sounds quite dark and woody, and the distortion isn't overly fast or tight or anything. So it's a more traditional distortion. It's from the 80s. But with that EQ curve, you can make it sound modern. So it's a cool hybrid between 2 worlds. And it's a really special preamp that sounds like none of the others, actually. And it's quite versatile. And the other preamp that really stands out is the PITTBULL from FRIEDMAN. The distortion is different. It's very fast. It's very tight. It sounds a little thinner maybe. It's less vocal, but it has some great upper mids. So it sounds very in your face and very direct. And just special. And I think about keeping that channel actually, because it's a good addition to my arsenal. You know, I got a lot of tube amps already. So that PITTBULL has a special voice, both in the distortion, which is very fast and immediate and in your face, but also in the frequency response. Cool preamp. I was a little disappointed by the HERBERT, I have to say. Very usable, very cool, but the low end was just a little, I don't know, a little crusty sounding in the lower mids and not as grindy overall as, for example, the Engel Savage and the BOGREN. So the HERBERT also falls into that modern category. In this case, it just wasn't that cool. You can also check out the noise levels at the beginning of the files if you download the files. And for some reason, I have to say that the Diesel modules were the most noisy among all the, which surprised me a little bit. Like the BOGREN ÜBERSCHALL, for example, same amount of distortion but less noise. Diesel quite noisy. Just check out the files. You will hear there's quite some difference there. So that was my little walkthrough, my little summary, and I hope you liked this video. There are links below to all the things that will make you more happy. So there are links to all the products, like to the Synergy system and blah blah blah. There are links to my IR packs if you like my tones. There are links to what else? Of course, to the multi-tracks. So if you're really interested in finding out how those preamps compare, you should download the files. So subscribe to my email list. You will also get a link to my Discord server where the files are downloadable. So, and on that Discord server, there are quite a few nice people talking to each other. You might want to join the discussion. So that's all for today. Thanks a lot to Synergy for sending me the whole system. It's a great system. All the channels sound cool. I have to say that. I didn't like the power amp very much. That's why I was using something else. But it's a cool system, especially if you don't own 15 or 20 tube amps like I do. So if you're starting out in the studio and you want to be versatile, a system like this works great with a cool power amp. Nothing wrong about it. Doesn't look as sexy as having many tube amps, but you know, you save some money and save some space. Cool system. Good work, Synergy. Well done. That's all for today. Now I can send back all the modules. Thanks, Synergy, for sending me all the modules. That was fun. What else? You let me know in the comments how you like this video. You let me know what you want to see in the future. It's Friday evening. When you're watching this, it's probably Saturday or Sunday evening. I'm gonna have a beer now, and then I will edit this video. See you in hell, motherfuckers. See you in hell, my friends. I love you all. Bye-bye.